Learn the latest news surrounding Timo Werner as RB Leipzig are desperate to sign their former player back on loan. On top of this, we are getting some very big reports coming out from Italy, as it seems like we want to sign this Italian wonderkid midfield player on a permanent deal from Inter Milan. And to end today's video, let's discuss the latest news on Benjamin Pavard, as he has been actively offered to our club at this point in time. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Before we get into things though, real quick plugs. I have released some match reviews for our part 1 and part 2 pre-season friendly games against Udinese. I'm testing out a new format, so I'd really appreciate you guys maybe giving it a watch, giving it a view. You'll find a link above somewhere in the cards. And let me know if you like this format. I want to see more of it for next season. So I hope you guys enjoy. So right now, let's discuss the latest Timo Werner news. Currently, his agent is holding talks with both Juventus and RB Leipzig. Now, originally Dortmund were in the mix. They saw Werner as a short-term replacement option for Sebastian Haller, and hopefully he recovers soon and gets back to playing football very soon. However, they're turning their attentions now to Anthony Modeste as that short-term option. So let's format this video. Let's discuss Juventus news and interest first. They're currently holding talks with Werner's agent. It seems like Werner is open to the idea of moving to Juventus. Ideally though, he prefers to go back to the Bundesliga, which makes a ton of sense because we can't forget, Werner is being spurred on and motivated to leave us now to make sure that he has himself booked in the German national team for this year's World Cup. So I understand the motivation, and we kind of already knew that if Werner had any hopes of leaving to pursue his sporting interests, he was going to have to take a massive loan cut. And reports are confirming the fact that Werner is more than happy to take a massive wage reduction, of course, to force a loan move away from the club during this window. Now currently, Juventus are a bit priced out over a move. They're hoping that with more talks and negotiations, they can find a better middle ground to get this deal over the line. But still, let's now turn our attentions back to RB Leipzig. It seems like currently they are the favourites, in fact, to sign Werner on loan. I understand why Werner would prefer a loan return back there, going back home into an environment in the league in which the national team manager is going to see you. And of course, going back home where you know how they play, and they can get the very best football out of you. For me, this is the wise decision to make. And it seems like we are effectively open to allowing Werner to leave, as reports have confirmed that Werner is more than happy to take a 50% wage reduction to force a loan move. Now he is earning around 280,000 a week, so 140k, it's not too bad. Now, in my opinion, I would love if it was possible to, include Werner plus money in a move to sign Nkunku. I feel like Nkunku would be such a mad player for us to sign. His ability to play all across that front three, and the fact that for me, I think that Kai Havertz could do a lot of goods having some competition alongside him. Nkunku, skillful, great finisher. Take Werner and here's some money. Can we do that? Is it possible? If not, get the move ready for next season. I think it's that simple. But anyway, after this loan spell, it does seem like there could be an option to buy included in this deal as well too. So I'd imagine that we're going to find pretty similar terms and solutions that we found with Lukaku when he made that loan return back to Inter Milan. So I wonder how much money we could command in a loan fee. It's going to help the books at least, so let's hope it happens soon. I do like Timo Werner. I think this guy's like a great influence in the dressing room. Clearly he's a popular guy as well too and brings very good vibes. I think sadly at this level, especially at the highest level, sometimes your form can be affected by tactics in a system that don't necessarily get the best out of you. Now we've seen glimpses of Werner. When he's playing in the transition, he's a lot more effective. When he's playing up front alongside a physical presence, he scores goals, and that's when this game makes a lot more sense. But I think now that we've signed Raheem Sterling, you can see what Tuchel is trying to do with that front three now, and false nine is the way to go. So that means that Werner has to go, so adios. Well, of course, I respect the guy. Good luck to him, and let's hope he has a great loan spell potentially back home at RB Leipzig, because if he does, then that is guaranteed money for us. So right now, let's move on to the next story. Now, next weekend kickstarts the return of a new Premier League season, with our first game coming up against Everton. So if you guys still have not bought any of the new home kits for the new season, as well as training kit items, what you guys are waiting for, get ready and get prepared for the new Premier League season. As you can see here, as beautifully modelled by Trevor Chalobah, this kit, it's a grower, does fit quite nicely. And of course, going to the training kit items as well, this new training top is sick, it's very popular. I'm waiting for mine to arrive as well too. So if you guys want to buy any of this for yourselves, descriptions below, you'll find all the links. Use my discount code NINI10 to get 10% off your final order. Now getting back to the video, and now we turn our attentions to the latest reports coming out from Damasio, and it does seem like we are resurfacing our interest to sign Inter Milan's young midfield player in Cesare Casadei. Now us, Ajax, and a host of other foreign clubs are showing particular interest in signing this player on a permanent deal. Now originally, we actually asked about him when Inter Milan were trying to sign Lukaku back on loan again. Originally, Inter Milan hoped to include Casadei as well as money on top to sign Werner from Torino, but in the end, they just couldn't meet the final fee that Torino wanted. They were hoping to sell Skriniar first. That move never came off, and in the end, Werner signed for Juventus. So it does seem like now we are hoping to sign the player on a permanent deal and not a loan deal. And I think this is quite exciting because Damasio has actually stated now that we have presented a €10 million offer and bids. And normally when Damasio is reporting something from Italy, he's not reporting lies. He's not reporting falsities. You know, this is legit. This is the real deal. And I think it's quite exciting because I've heard about this guy throughout the beginning of the summer, done my research, and I think that I can understand why we'd show a lot of interest in signing a player like this and his profile. Regardless though, it seems like Inter Milan at least are open to negotiating, and they will probably present us a counter offer. Now, Damasio states that Inter want around €20 million. I think that's a bit too much money. Ideally, they'll probably negotiate down a lot more, and as long as they could get more money up front in this deal, I'd imagine that this would dramatically reduce the overall value over time. Still, you might be thinking, Nini, why are we signing a young Italian midfield player that hasn't even made his Serie A debut for Inter Milan right now? Shouldn't be going for Declan Rice's and other profiles. I hear what you guys are saying, but let's actually learn about this player first. I'm going to break down this game so you guys get an understanding about who he is and my theory on why he could be quite an interesting option for us. So regardless, let's start with the facts. Last season in the Primavera League, if I'm saying that right, obviously like Inter Milan's youth team, basically, he scored 16 goals and got 5 assists in 39 games. Of course, he was part of that Italian under-29 team that lost in the semi-final against England in the same tournament. And even though he never scored any goals or got any assists, he had a decent tournament, but there's a lot more to come from a player like him. Regardless though, what's the best way to describe him? I'd say that he's very good in both the offensive phase and the defensive phase. He performs both duties to a very high standards, and in that sense, when you look at his athleticism, his frame, of course, the height as well too, the power behind his running, he is a very good type of box-to-box mid option and is a very good number 8. But they aren't the only roles that he can play. He is able to play in a midfield 2 and a midfield 3, as well as playing as a defensive mid on top of that as well too. And for me, I'm going to touch upon defensive mids later on as this video goes on. But regardless, he does have nice extra bits to his game. He has that composure in tight areas. He has a good frame. He uses his body very well as well too. And he's one of those players that picks up very good positions when it comes to like us trying to build up from the back and play out, and of course play through these opposition presses. I think it's very important that you're constantly like scanning those midfield lines, looking to find pockets and holes to receive from the centre backs to then turn defence into attack. So I think that he is a very moldable talent at this point in time. And actually, when you're looking at DM options, unless we're willing to spend like over £80 million, they're very expensive. And I do think sometimes as a club, we should also pursue targets and options that we can mold, that we can grow. I mean, look at players like John Obi Mikel, for example. He was a prime example of a young teenager who we molded into like a very good anchor man. And look at the benefits he brought to our team over the years for a fraction of the price. I mean, he cost us nothing compared to the longevity we got from the player. So I think Casadei could be a very interesting player than Thomas Tuchel. He's one of those players that has leadership in his game as well too. When it comes to like pressing off the ball, he'll be telling his teammates, go here, go there, come back, you know, let's stay compact, etc, etc. And you need those types of vocal figures in your team. In my personal opinion, you guys don't have to take me too serious on this, but I get a bit of like Michael Ballack vibes when I watch him play and see what he does. I think if you guys know Ballack, of course, I love that guy, one of my favorite players growing up, to be fair with you. So I think he's doing pretty well to, you know, have comparisons like that. So right now, I'm very curious to see how the story progresses and evolves. Of course, if Damasio is reporting things, there is some concrete truth and facts behind these stories. So let's see what happens as time goes on. So right now, let's end things with another big report, and let's discuss Benjamin Pavard. Now, reports coming out from France are suggesting that Pavard's agent has offered his client to us and to Manchester United. At this point in time, there seems to be some confusion with the hierarchy at Bayern Munich. On one hand, half the committee wants Pavard to stay and they think that he's a great squad option. The other half are open to a sell. Ideally though, if a handsome offer came in for the player, that would force a lot of hands and probably persuade Bayern Munich to sell up and reinvest their money. They just signed Mazraoui from Ajax. They do have solutions that they can cope with without him in their team. So let's see what happens with this story. But regardless though, Pavard's advisor, Joseph Mohan, is already signing out the market by holding talks with us and Manchester United. Now with stories like this here, I always personally like them because they do reveal some insight behind how deals work and the type of conversations that go on behind the scenes. For me, I can't help but see those like parallels to Football Manager in terms of, how these deals and negotiations end up being. I think it's quite fascinating, and a lot of times we hear stories like this, we might say it's fake, but there's countless conversations happening all the time with agents from across Europe. So that's only my opinion, but continuing on though, after we lost out on Koundé, it's not a surprise that Pavard becomes a pretty interesting option. Now the report does state that we aren't necessarily inclined to sign him right now. However, as the window does progress, he could be a pretty interesting solution once that window is coming to an end. What if we need an option in the team? What if an injury came, God forbid, to anyone at the back, for example? I can understand why the club would keep their minds open towards a player, international experience, can play in a back three, can play as a fullback as well too. Would make a lot of sense playing as a wide centre back because he does have a good shot on him and he is comfortable in playing in the final third. But for me, in my opinion, I wouldn't invest the money in him unless it was like a desperation loan move essentially. I just think that we have options now in Azpilicueta and Trevor Chalobah. I feel like we have options now in Trev and in Azpilicueta. And I know that some of you guys might be rolling your eyes at me saying Trev. He has had a bit of an inconsistent pre-season at this point in time. A few mistakes in his game. But I think for me, realistically, when you're playing alongside many other unexperienced guys that you've never played with, there are going to be moments of confusion. I think when we have seen this guy play alongside experience, alongside him, kind of telling him what to do at times, that's when you can see his game and his promise come to light. And for me, we have to accept the reality that we don't have budgets like City or Liverpool or Paris Saint-Germain, for example. We have to be strategic with how we spend our money and how we invest in that. And for me, we have to stop spending big money on these like Zappacosta style players, but you're spending over the odds for, squad options that in the end you find extremely difficult to sell on, move on, and get profit from. I think that keep Aspie if worse comes to worse, keep Trev, and reinvest in other areas in the team. For me, I think a left wing back would be amazing if we could get one, because I think Chilwell needs a bit more time, and I think that this new look attack we have under Tuchel would actually prosper a lot more if there was like a speedy option down that left hand side. But those are my thoughts and opinions, you guys. They're the latest stories that dropped today. Let's see what tomorrow brings. And on that note, I'm Nini FC. This is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.